You're a burglar, but you only steal things to slightly inconvenience your victims. What are you stealing?
I would steal every measuring cup but the 1/3 one.
The one that nobody ever needs.
Yeah. You use it for one recipe.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to JG's Lounge. I'm your host, Jukebox, and we are back with another episode of Stardom, episode 96 to be exact. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm excited that my numbers are going up, so thank all of you guys. I got a return guest today, Sean Shank. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Very happy to be back on the podcast, dude. I had a lot of fun last time.
Yeah, your audio seems to be a little delayed all of a sudden, and I'm not sure why.
I don't know because yours was hinky too, and I don't know if it's me or if it's you. Do I need to switch out to use my hotspot on my phone? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
Okay, all right. If it gets weird again, I'll switch out my stuff.
Okay. I mean, it is just a hair delayed, but it's not terrible. So, I mean,
okay.
I'm not, and the audio sounds fine. It's just that slight delay.
Yeah.
Anyways, man, you've been on tour, man. How's it going?
Okay. So I had an awesome tour with this comic out of New York. His name's Davin Rosenblatt. And Davin is just, man, this dude, he's one of the best crowd talkers in the country. Like, he is so fast on stage. His shows are never the same. And this is a guy actually I would love to get you hooked up with to talk to on your podcast, because he is a scammer of scammers. Like, he literally works scamming the people that send you stuff like, hey, my uncle died in a plane wreck in Nigeria, and I've got $30 billion to share with you. Like, he does that, and he's so good at it that he consults with the Pentagon.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
Yeah, no, this guy is awesome, and he and I are working on a TV pilot about his life and everything. But we had a blast. But I'll tell you, man, there's some weird stuff that happened when we were down in Kentucky at the Caravan. Like, we had a show where this family came out of the Appalachian Mountains, or Appalachian Mountains. And I mean, they were sweethearts. I liked them, but god dang, like, the dad could not buy a consonant to save his life. And he was, as I put it in my road blog, he was wearing his going out on the town tank top. Yeah. And dude, I'm on stage there, and I was doing this thing where I'm trying to, like, get out into the crowd more, because usually, like, my thing on stage is, like, I've got my jokes, I'm going to tell my jokes, I don't talk to the people. But Davin was like, dude, you gotta evolve, man. You gotta start doing this stuff, because that's what he does. So right. I started talking to the crowd, and I'm up there, and I was like, so where are you guys from? And the dad, man, Jukebox, I swear to God, was like, go damn with them mouth. And I just stood there for a second. I was like, what in the southern fucking Kentucky? What? Like, I could not make sense of any of it. And then all of a sudden, the one of the owners, and he runs all the sound and he manages the shows. His name's Dana. Awesome dude, very funny. He hears this guy saying this shit. He's backstage. He sprints back to the sound booth, jumps up there, and before I can say anything else, he plays dueling banjos over the loudspeakers.
That's good timing right there.
Oh, he was so excited to get back there and play. Of course, I mean, everybody in the room just dies laughing. But it was really cool, man. Like, the family had come down from, like, literally drove down from the hills in their, like, car story, Mater pickup truck, and or cars, not twice. There's conflating Toy Story and Cars. But anyway, like the son Sebastian, it was his 16th birthday, and I was like, I'm really shitty at math, but I know you have to be 18 to be in this club. Well, they had to sign a waiver. Like they had to get legal permission for the dude to come into the club for his birthday. But yeah, it was weird stuff like that. But and then on Sunday shows we had a lady that thought she was an alligator, so that was a little weird.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, it's like she identified as an alligator.
She kept doing like this stuff over and over, and like I think it had something to do with a college or whatever it was, but it was just so strange, and she just would not drop it. Oh, and then there was
I don't even think about that, but like I'm sure there's always that one guest at each show. Well, maybe not every show, but
every show. But it's only when here's the thing, dude. Like most comedy. So here's a behind the scenes thing for people out there that don't understand the world of comedy. What we would prefer, unless I'm a crowd talking comic, what we prefer is just you guys come out, have some drinks, listen to our shit, laugh, go home. Sean was hilarious. And, have this nice live experience that way. But what happens is whenever I work with Davin, now I've worked with this dude for years, the insane people come out every time. And they always find him. And it always happens like the MC will go up, I'll be featuring, no problems. And then Davin goes on stage, and all of a sudden that's when the person from the crazy house goes, oh, that's my cue. And so we were in Michigan City, which is in Indiana. And we had this guy named Dobie. And our MC was a guy named Otis Boggs, very funny comic. Went up, did his set, did 15 minutes, got through it, no problems. I went up, did my set, 30 minutes, no problems. Davin goes on stage, and Dobie, who's probably 120 years old, not even 5 minutes into Davin's set, just screams at the top of his lungs, is Otis Boggs a real name? Just out of the blue. And Davin, who is, as I said, one of the fastest minds in the country, sat there on read for a month because it was so weird. You could just see like the three dots going bing, bing, bing. Bing, bing, bing. Because he's just looking over. He goes, look, man, none of us are famous enough to want to use and have to use fake names. And second of all, even if we did, who would choose Otis Boggs anyway? And then Dobie gets up and like literally, because he's so old, he shuffles over like, that old man walking through the hospital, like 2 inches every step, kind of shuffles. So you just see this long protracted walk to the center of the room and sits down in like the one seat that's open center stage in front of Davin. And then he goes, hey, can I tell a Norm Macdonald joke? Like, just stops the show dead. And Davin's like, bro, this is not how this works, but I don't know if I can stop you. And literally, Davin spent 30 minutes of his set dealing with Dobie. Man. Yeah, dude, it was so crazy.
Now I'm guessing they had a conversation afterwards, maybe.
No, Dobie shuffled off into the night, man. Like he just disappeared into the ether. And what was funny was people were coming up to us after the show, like, "Oh, that's just Dobie. He's like that," and we're just like, "Oh, great." So that's what these shows moving forward are going to consist of. But I'll tell you, the epilogue for me that night was I saw merchandise after my shows.
Right.
And this one girl was wanting to buy one of my T-shirts. And she hands me the cash. And so I reach back to get my wallet. And my wife bought me these. I love Duluth Trading Company, right?
Yeah.
And she bought me these really cool Duluth Trading Company. And, for Duluth, if you're listening to the podcast, you don't have to send me any free gear at all for saying this.
Or me.
Oh, no, definitely not you, whatever size you might be. I'm 40. Anyway, so I reach back and it's Velcroed because it's pants for working outside and stuff. So the pocket rips open. Now, the thing about this girl, she was incredibly hot. Okay. Very good looking woman. And I Velcro open my back pocket, and she just gets this disgusted look on her face. She goes, "Ugh, Velcro." And I go, "Well," I said, "my wife got them for me, probably so girls didn't flirt with me while I'm on the road." She looks me up and down. She goes, "Yeah, you don't need the pants."
Oh, that's a low blow.
I was just like, "Why are shots fired? I did nothing to you."
Ew.
I mean, it was a good burn. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm like, okay, fair, but geez, lady.
I just like imagine that her facial reaction. Like that's good.
Oh yeah, no, it was a moment. But that, dude, that's the thing about live entertainment. I know people saying, the post-COVID era of comedy is really starting to kind of blossom because people were so tired of being, hemmed up inside because of all the ridiculousness. We won't go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But people are coming out and they're starting to realize like there's something to be said for, you can watch comedy online, but when it's live, like something like this is where it's just happening, you can't fake that. You can't trade that for anything. You can't make Adobe or a dirt guy happen, in those very controlled environments that you see with most of the comedy stuff, like your dry bars and your specials and stuff like that. Those are so controlled and contrived and everything. Not
Yes.
to take anything away from the comics, but it's not live.
Right.
It was just a massive difference.
Oh yeah, and that's why a big part about this show, and I've thought about doing pre-recorded, but I was like, it just doesn't fit with what I want to do. Like you not knowing the topic and us being live makes it so off the top and random. It makes the show what it is. So I have to do it the way that I do it, and I love it.
Yeah, dude. No, I've got mad respect for this whole platform. I talked about this show like crazy after we were done doing it because I loved that just aspect of you have no idea what's coming, and then it's just like it is almost like those improv moments in stand-up comedy where it's like somebody will shout some crazy stuff out, like the Otis Boggs thing, and you're just forced to like deal with it
Uh-huh.
on the spot. So, and since I'm here and we've bought into this premise that we're doing the show this way,
Right.
we're this is what we're working with, and so that makes it just so cool. And I also have mentioned to many people that have talked about the show too. I said, it's funny, he's had some pretty like established people, celebrities on this podcast. I said, like, I know I've done some cool shit, but like I am not even, I don't know if I'm on the alphabet somewhere as far as like not a A-lister or even a G-lister. Might be in the double A's. I don't know. But grateful to be here.
You've got some content out there, man. I mean, you're a well-established person in general because you're not just a comedian. You got all this other stuff that you do, which actually is, we've kind of touched base on the last show you were on, and it's partially why I picked the topic that I did because you said you used to write journalism. I don't know if you still journals, like articles for real estate companies.
I have written. So I was a freelance writer I still do some, but for like 20 years. But like the most established thing that I did was I wrote for Top 10 Real Estate Deals, which is a great company. Bob and the folks down there are amazing people. But they had this thing called the Top 10 Scariest Homes for Sale list come out every Halloween. And I mean, it's published domestically, internationally. I mean, I got criminy. I was on news stations from Pittsburgh to Chicago to LA. And I had no idea because I told you, I answered the Craigslist thing.
Yeah.
So that's what that came from. But I will tell you, as cool as that is, the craziest stuff with the journalism is I actually ran a small town newspaper. It was a weekly in North Central Indiana for 2 years. And dude, have you ever seen the show In the Heat of the Night?
I know of the show, but I cannot say I've seen it.
Okay, so I used to think the premise of all of these murders happening every single week and drug rings and all this other, bullshit that was happening in Sparta, Mississippi was like far-fetched until I worked in this town with a county population of less than 19 or 20,000 at the time.
Okay.
Dude, attempted murders, drug thefts, volunteer fire departments taking tax dollars and going to Chicago and renting county buses. I mean, cops stalking people locking kids in wood cabinet. I mean, just, dude, it was insane. It was so bad. Like, I had to carry a gun at one point because it was getting so crazy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude, that was a very weird time of my life, and I could probably spend 3 hours talking about it.
Well, you at least got another 45 minutes because I went with crazy headlines for today's topic.
Let's rock it.
All right, let's get this first one. I'm guessing you'll probably have some relatable stories.
Probably. That's all I'm full of, stories and gas.
All right, first up, and some of these you might have even heard of. Transported to hospital with a live adult chicken stuck in his rectal cavity.
Come on. Now we know how it crossed the road. Please. That's the easiest. It's just, what?
Oh, man. Actually, I had to get a little bit more info.
I was going to say, is the egg shortage that bad?
Says upon arriving on the site, they found 57-year-old Christopher Adams inebriated, bloodied, and naked on a henhouse floor with a loudly clucking 5-pound chicken stuck in his rectum.
What? No.
Oh, man, I read that probably 6 times. And I was like, I got to do this one. This is because it made me crack up. I'm like, in no way does this scenario sound like something I would do. I don't care if I was blacked out drunk.
No, you don't, dude. Okay, first of all, no, most, I mean, unless you're Florida man, but so my first question is, it says the chicken is clucking loudly. So either one, that chicken, while it's hit, because you got to think, I'm just like, the logistics are what's popping into my brain right now.
Right.
The narrow end of the chicken arguably is the head, the tapered end. So that would be what you think would fit. But if it's clucking loudly, I mean, like, look, I know anatomy. I used to be pre-med. The chicken, there's no room up there for it to. So if it's clucking loudly, it must be like super strong and not up that far for it to cluck through. But if it's saying clucking loudly, then my brain is like, well, for them to put that in the headline, then the chicken was the other way around.
Yes, see, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, are we talking feet first or head first?
Yes!
This is very confusing.
Dude, oh my God.
And if it's head first and he's clucking in there, man.
Are we living in a clown world? We are. We're living in a clown universe. Like, I don't know what Mandela thing has happened where now we're, thank you, CERN, because now we've got... Jeez, dude. Okay.
Right. Yeah, no, that's pretty rough. I mean, I'm guessing you've probably never had articles like that, correct?
No. I will tell you, though, you know what's funny? Okay, did you ever see Ron Burgundy, Anchorman?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so do you remember when she was complaining about reporting on cat fashion shows?
Yes.
Okay, so... I was doing a lot of investigative reporting because when I moved into this newspaper job, I wasn't related to anybody in the county. I lived like an hour and 15 minutes away from the newspaper office. So not growing up there, not related to anybody, I had no dog in the fight. So I had no pressure from outside people to not report on things. So all of the good people of the county that were like, there's corruption, came to me with all of these things that were just horrible stuff going on. And me being like, a newspaper Batman, I'm like, yeah, I'm just writing stories left and right and investigating everything. And finally, somebody called up about a year and a half into me doing all this stuff. And man, I got like coaches fired. I got, people that were on the school board kicked out because of all the heinous stuff they were doing. But finally, I was getting too close to some things. And somebody called up my boss and said, you need to stop this. You need to tone it down. And I remember telling my wife, I said, I bet you what's going to happen is they're going to tell me to stop doing any investigative reporting. And I said, and the next thing you know, I'm going to be reporting on cat fashion shows. I said that jokingly. And I did one more article. And then my boss said, if you do one more investigative article, you're fired. And guess what was in the next week's front page? A cat fashion show. It's like I have the newspaper still. It's like I've got the one where it's like, corruption in the fire department. Right. Cat fashion show. Comes out with a glitter collar this year.
And the fact that that's actually in a newspaper article is ridiculous.
Oh, dude. Well, it's small town, Midwest. Yeah. They have their quilting bees, and Martha, made a beautiful bundt cake for the Red Hat sale.
Okay.
I mean, it's sweet, but it's yeah. So yeah, it's no chicken up the ass. I'll say that much.
It's no chicken up the ass, man. I don't know if I would want to ask questions, but at the same time, I'm like, that dude, I don't know where he's at in his mind, and if I even want to talk to the guy.
Yeah, but was it just out, dude? You just said as blackout drunk as you. I've been drunk. I have done some crazy shit drunk, but I've never been shove a chicken up my ass drunk. So, I gotta think he was on bath salts or something.
Yeah, there had to be more to it. It did say it was inebriated, but there had to be more to it. He was a pretty big guy, but I could see it that maybe him. He was a big guy. If he was I could see them showing up and him trying to shove it down his mouth. That's more realistic than the way they found him. Come on, man.
Like Chick-fil-A was closed, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go to the source, I guess."
All right, let's go to the next one.
Sorry, man. Oh my god,
that's good. That's a good way to start this, though. Suspect's loud fart helps police sniff out his hiding place. Liberty Police Department of Missouri said no one was hurt by the blast.
Okay, first of all, as a former journalist, chef's kiss to that title.
Yes.
Because that is exactly some shit that I would have pulled in the newspaper. I love puns. That's awesome. So basically what happened, they were chasing him down.
Yeah, they were. I looked at it a little bit. I wasn't too interested because it's pretty plain in sight, but yeah, he was running and they found him in a neighborhood hiding behind some house because he farted.
Don't you? Look, man, we've all farted. Don't you think you could give it a little test jiggle? It's like, oh no, that's going to be powerful.
Just spread the cheeks a little bit, man.
That's what See, this is what I love about the common human experience. We know it's like, oh, I got to be quiet. So you go down, make a little bit of room. So it's a careless whisper instead of a blast.
Can you just imagine being the suspect and just fuck? You think they heard that? Jeez.
I just imagine if the guy did reach down to give it that, stop the vibrato and just made it go psst, like this. One of the officers would look at his buddy why are you whispering? Who's got a secret? What is that?
Yeah. Officers are like, did you hear that? Yeah, it came from around that corner. Let's just go check it out. There he is.
That's one of those things. I think as a criminal, if I did that, I would probably just step out from behind whatever cabinet. You got me.
Yeah.
Because
even you guys got any toilet paper on you?
Oh, like he sharded. Oh, and then
maybe might get you out of getting arrested. Hey, you can throw me your truck, but in the back of your car, but I got some shit in my drawers right now. So just a heads up.
I'm gonna be grinding short splatter into your to your cloth back seats. You got to think that cop cars have leather back seats or something at this point, or like the vinyl.
Yeah, I
They'd
mean,
have
they'd
to.
probably call like the paddy wagon or something and be like, "You're not getting my car, so we're just gonna arrest you and sit you
Oh,
down here."
you know what? Those sons of bitches would. Because I was an EMT for some time. I guarantee it they would call because of a bio like that. Oh, he's medical. You gotta transport him on the bus. Dude, okay, so side story. Oh man. Okay, so I worked overnights in Tulsa
Okay.
as an EMT, and Metro nights is different. It's a different world, and the cops are different. And God love them. Every cop I worked with was fantastic. But there was one night we got called out to a bar at 2 a.m. And when we got there, this guy was literally upside down, leaning against the wall of the bar like a plank,
Oh,
not slumped. He was stiff as a board, standing on his head, leaned like they picked him up like a cartoon and sat him down outside on his head. And so we get up there, and I at the time my Spanish was a lot better, and I was trying to speak to this guy because nobody else on the bus could speak it, and he wasn't responding, and we just figured out that he was super drunk, and he had a very bad sinus infection. Like, it was coming out of his nose in like curls. Like, it was horrifying. But the thing was, we're sitting there trying to figure out what to do with this guy, and the police showed up, and they go, so is he, then the bar people are like, no, he's just drunk. And the cops are like, well, we don't want to take him in. We don't want to do the paperwork. And my lead at the time, because I was just what they call an NREMT B with ALS certification. So I was a basic EMT with like advanced certs. So we had a paramedic on the bus with us. And he goes, well, I don't want to take him in and do the paperwork. So he's arguing with the cop as to who's going to take this guy in. And when they both finally were like, yeah, neither of us are taking him. And they're like, well, we got to do something with him. We can't just leave him out here to go back in the bar.
yeah.
At the same time, the paramedic and the officer turned and looked at a dumpster and go, well, we could throw him in there. And I go, no. And they literally looked at me and they're like, why not? I go, garbage truck in the morning. Like it would. And like I had to argue them down from the rooftop of doing this. And they finally carried him over and stuck him behind a refrigerator in an alley adjacent to the bar. Special breed, man.
Ah, dude, I've gotten so drunk at a bar once that I literally went out after closing and slept behind some bushes between the building and the bushes on some like gravel for like 3 hours. I wasn't gonna drive, so I just passed out there for a few hours, got up, and then
Oh, dude, that is so funny. You just woke up with like that pockmark, like little
Yes.
pebble stuck to your cheek and everything.
You'd think that'd be a learning experience and not drink so much, but I'm pretty sure there were several more years of drinking after that. So,
Right. You know what the thing is, though, all joking aside, kudos to you to being like, you know what, I'm not going to drive, so
Yeah.
I'll just sleep next to this discarded, like Artie's carton and everything.
Use some cardboard for a pillow. It is what it is.
Hey, it's like,
You ready for the next one?
absolutely, man. Let's
All right.
go.
Missing woman unwittingly joins search party looking for herself.
Okay, so what is the through line on this? Like, did you read more into this, or did you just read the headline?
I saw 2 articles about the same thing, and they don't really say much besides that they're searching through the woods for this lady, and she had been missing for a few days, and she just shows up into this group of people in the woods looking for her. And I don't know if they specified who they were looking for, and she just joined, or she knew and she was trying to stay in disguise.
I don't know, man. It depends on like her situational awareness. Maybe she's just like a really nice person, like she's been lost for 2 days. She's hungry. she's not had her medications, but then she sees this search party and they're like, "Whoa, we're looking for this missing woman." She's like, "Oh, well, I'll help."
Yeah.
All the
Just
while, like
70, 80-year-old lady. Who
oh my
knows?
God. That's one
the
of those.
only way. I think that's the only way I could see this being like okay, that makes sense. Like if she was an older lady lost in the woods, but it doesn't to say the age. So
Yeah, that's a weird one. That's one of those ones where like it's humorous, but my internal curiosity engine would just be like, dude, we have got, you know what I mean? Like you just have to find out. Like the only thing about the chicken in the ass guy that I want to know is just what was the disposition of the chicken? Head first, feet first.
right. Yeah, this whole show I should have had that one as the last one. But there's some other really good ones in here. So
Holy shit, I just realized that was why I started the EMT story, because of some of the crazy shit that I saw as an EMT.
uh-huh. Well, what's probably one of the most memorable EMT stories you got?
Oh, dude.
Other than the one that you just told me.
Okay, so there. Oh my God, that I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's 3 a.m. in the morning. I am 3 hours from my shift turnover, and we get toned out. Now, mind you, this was when I was working in central Indiana, and I can't give names and locations because of, blah, blah, blah. But we get toned out, and the call was a man with a gunshot wound to the head. Now, this is like near where I grew up. I grew up in the middle of 4 cornfields, so it was super rural. So for somebody to have a gunshot wound to the head was just like, this is, this is way out of line. What the hell's going on? So we go to this local bar, and, the cops clear the scene. And again, this is why one of the reasons where I know when people are screaming about cops, and bad cops, need to be taken care of, but the men and women that I worked with, some of the shit that they have to slog through, normal human normies do not understand. You just don't know the stuff that they go through. So nothing but respect for those folks on the force there, the good ones. So they cleared the scene. I knew something was really messed up when the one officer walked out, and it was this old black gentleman, and it was just funny because I couldn't see his face, and he's bald, but I could see like the lights from the parking lot kind of jogging around on his head. So I knew there was some movement there, and I looked closer, and as he's walking towards our bus to give us the report, he's just going, shaking his head like that. And that's why the lights are bouncing around like, this can't be good. And he doesn't say anything. He just looks into the cabin. He just goes and walks on by us. So me and my partner jump out, get our grab bag, go inside. And literally there's a dude sitting in a chair, has a beer, holding a bar towel on his neck. And there is a waterfall of clotted blood, like a beard, down the front of his chest.
Oh man.
And
what?
It was so strange. It's just like something out of a movie. And it took my brain a second to go, okay, this is happening. This isn't something, that I'm seeing in a film. And then it hit me like, he's drinking alcohol. And I walk up and I slap the drink out of his hands. And his buddy, who I didn't see, and this is my fault for not having my situational awareness on, around the corner is like 6'7", this big, massive meathead comes walking around the corner, and he goes, "Hey, what did you do that in my buddy's drink for?" And I go, "What? Stupid. Alcohol thins the blood." And so...
Well, it takes away the pain, too. I don't know.
Well, it gets better. So... he's got this stack of bar towels out to here, holding it on the thing. And I pull his hand away. I take the bar towels away. He's got a gunshot wound entry right here, and it went out through the back of his neck.
Damn.
Now, as I'm sitting there trying to assess things, and my partner and we're doing our thing, my first thought in my head is like, what small town podunk, redneck, backwoods, moronic bartender looked at this situation and is like, well, I can still make $3. Right? So we start getting patched up, and the thing is, we have to ask them like what happened, blah blah blah, to figure out like the history of from the point of whatever to where we're at now. And it's like medical history, all this stuff. And the guy was like aware and everything. He was drunk, but he was totally aware. And he had said, now this was his story. Well, me and my buddy were coming to get a drink, and we got into his car, and there was a 22 rifle that was sitting in the front seat. And this is like verbatim. He said, and I said to myself, that is unsafe. So I grabbed the rifle, and as I grabbed it, I accidentally grabbed the trigger, shot myself through the neck, and put the gun in the back seat. And he told us where he was coming, where they like his home was, and how they ended up at the bar. But the thing is, where he lived, it was backed into this like cul-de-sac where there's only one exit at the hill. Now, at the top of the hill, you can make two choices. One, you can turn right and go to the hospital. Two, you can turn left and go to the bar for one last drink before you go to the hospital. And so, we get him patched up. The guy is lucky. The bullet missed every vital thing, like everything that could have, it just killed him, missed everything. But we found out, actually, because I was working the back of the bus on the way to the hospital, found out what had happened was he got in an argument with his girlfriend, and she shot him.
What?
He just shot, and it was over something stupid like he didn't do the dishes. And she goes, again, bow, shoots him. He calls his buddy. His buddy comes to pick him up. And when they get to the top of the hill, his buddy looks at him and goes, you want to go get a drink before we go to the hospital? And Dum is going, still bleeding, not just bleeding. He didn't even have bar towels at the time, just looks over with blood just going like this, going, yeah, I could do for a Bud Light.
That was going to be my next question. What kind of beer was he drinking?
Well, it was in a plastic cup. That unfortunately I couldn't tell, but I mean,
the bartender's like, oh man, that's a lot of blood. I'm not going to give him a glass.
He might drop it, and that's going to cost me money. Yeah, dude. So gunshot wound in the neck, pretty crazy story, but just the circumstances surrounding, and the fact that the bartender served him. Right. And it wasn't even the bartender who called. It wasn't even the bar who called. It was a bystander.
Somebody in the bar.
Somebody in the bar. Because the bartender served both him and his buddy.
You think that would be a result of losing your liquor license, but I guarantee you they didn't do shit about it.
No. Are you kidding me? They probably even mop up the clotted blood. They just probably took the chair back out to the table and shoved it under.
Took the towels that the guy was using and just threw them on the floor. All right, you ready for the next story?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, sorry.
I know. No, dude, this is the point of the show, man. It's going great.
Cool.
All right. 3 men jailed for sex with cow, goat, 9 horses, and unknown number of dogs.
What the fuck, dude?
Trio forced 16-year-old boy to hold animals down as they abuse them on remote makeshift farm.
I'm having trouble compartmentalizing this.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Here, let me throw it back up here.
Thank you. Jail for sex with cow, goat, 9 horses, and Okay, first of all, that had to have been like a very strong 16-year-old to hold down a horse or a cow, even a squirming dog. What is this?
There's 3 guys. I'm like, what? And they were like, when you look at the mug shots, I didn't pull up the mug shots, but they're all like maybe 18 to 25 at most. And the kid that was holding him down was 16. So, I
mean, is this just like a frat thing gone very wrong?
I mean, dude, I mean, that's
And here's the other thing: remote
hilariously
makeshift
gross.
farm.
Yeah, makeshift farm. What's a makeshift farm? Like they just
That-
went out and gathered these animals.
Is it like Blazing Saddles? Like, no, we'll just put up the flats of a farm so we can fuck all this livestock. I mean,
Oh, it's fine, officers. It was fine. It was on our farm.
we're practicing animal husbandry. That's not what that means. Oh, all right. And the fact that we involved a 16-year-old is bad. Who knew?
No, he was actually milking the cows while we were fucking it. He wasn't holding them down. He was just milking them.
So it was an orgy. Okay.
And on top, okay, the funny part, not that any of this isn't funny, but it says 9 horses, and then it goes unknown number of dogs.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my god. Well, okay, so 9 horses. I mean, okay, so unknown number of dogs. That's fair. I mean,
well, and it's 3 guys, so it's not like it's one guy going to town on all these animals. It's 3. Not. I just imagine them high-fiving each other. One guy's got a goat, other guy's got a horse.
Okay, so like, I'm sorry, man. This is kind of vapor locking because my brain is going to like so many different cinematic images. So it's sex with cow. So it's one cow,
Yes.
one goat. But yet they went 9 horses deep.
Man, I mean, those are some. They got some. I don't even know, stamina.
That's the other thing I'm sitting there. Okay, see, I just need to ask more questions of you because that's what my brain is thinking. Is like, how do you stay like, look, I'm not an old man, but I'm not a young man. I'm sitting here thinking like, after a minute or 10, like stuff starts to like people get tired. But these guys are going through the whole book of Animal Farm and just tagging the entire cast.
Yes. It's, I don't know. I mean,
gives a whole new meaning to the term pound puppies.
They got a little cult going, some sort of sex cult going on there.
Sex cult.
That makes sense.
I love it.
You guys can't go after us. It's a religious thing here, okay? God, our God told us to have sex with these animals.
Okay, so here's another question. Everybody watching this, please understand the thousands of viewers about to hear this. I don't mean that I am for this or anything. So when I say this thing, understand this is not a fetish or like, hey, this is hot. The phrasing here. I get the dogs and the goat. That makes sense logistically, but the planning and the everything else that would go into the cow and the horse. Like, I don't know if you're from the city, you may not realize how big a horse is. They weigh hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and they are up here.
Yes.
Do you see? Like, there had to be ladders.
I'm thinking hay bales. They just stacked a couple hay bales, climbed on up there.
And what was the kid holding? He couldn't hold down a horse unless he was like Superman. So was he up at
Maybe
the front,
he was distracting the horse, just petting its head, holding the harness and petting its head.
With oats. It'll be over soon.
It'll be done soon. It's fine. I mean, he's not very well endowed, man. You're not even going to feel it. It's fine.
Oh, he's back there? Oh, weird. Just swats at him with a tail like a fly.
They're like coaxing this 16-year-old. It's fine. You're going to be the therapist for them while we're doing our business. And cows too, man. Cows aren't very. I mean, they're tall too.
That's what I'm saying. But here's the conspiracy theory. Here's the twist. The 16-year-old, maybe he's the farm pimp.
Fair enough.
Maybe that's his stable.
Maybe he's the animal whisperer. He's like, these animals pretty well. Why don't you help us out?
He's probably just up there petting him like, that's a good bitch. Yeah, get my money.
They paid him off. Oh man, and I mean, these kids were clearly some backwoods kids too. I mean, the mug shots weren't very pleasant.
I am not going to say they're probably from the Appalachian Mountains because I don't want to lose you any fans, but I could see some. Just do okay. So we've had this. We've had the chicken
Yeah.
up the ass. I'm just afraid to see what's coming next.
This one's not. I mean, I do have one more that's semi like that, but the rest of them are a little
Of
more
course
awful.
you do.
Come on, man. This is the Stardom podcast. I can't bring anything less.
No, it's wonderful. When I say going down the rabbit hole, this is not what I meant.
Next up, doctors remove 40 knives from man's stomach in India.
Okay, so like on the for real, either this is one of those like carny things, right? Or is this one of those pica? Is it called pica or pica?
I don't know. I've never heard of
You,
that.
you know what? Okay, so there's like a medical condition called pica or pica, something like that, where people will eat hair and
Yeah.
pieces
I've
of,
heard
you
of
know what I'm
that.
talking about? Like one of those weird things. I wonder if this is
It
too much.
says a man in India spent 2 months swallowing knives and had 40 of them surgically removed from his stomach, according to the doctor who led the operation. It doesn't say why he did it, just the amount of time it took him to do it.
Okay.
There's a
Again,
reason why I don't go too into details on these things or look too much into it, because it makes it more interesting to come up with the ideas in our head.
right. But see this, okay. So you're the part of the problem with being like a journalist and a comic and an author and all these other things where like my brain, like I said, has that curiosity engine. It's like the why. I want to find out. I want to find, and you don't have to pull up the article or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, why would you do that? And how did he survive?
Yeah. I mean, I know there's some small knives, but there's no way. I mean, if you swallowed 40 toothpicks, that's going to cause some problems. I mean,
Dude,
talking about some
how
metal
about
knives.
jukebox? If you swallowed one, forgive my vernacular, but one fucking butter knife, just one, that's a night in the hospital immediately. There's no level of like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
Well, except for apparently with this dude in India. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was dying the other day when I swallowed a piece of meat that was too big. And it, you know how it like can get stuck up here and you're just sitting there going, like that thing? Yeah, I thought I was dying.
Yeah, though I mean, people get off on cutting their wrists and their thighs. I mean, maybe this guy just likes that that burn feeling going down his throat.
I swallow knives to know that I still feel.
He's depressed. He's depressed, but he doesn't want people to see it, so he just internally cuts himself.
He internalizes it.
That's it. That we figured it out, guys.
He's just sitting there listening to the Indian Cure.
Oh, that's better. That's better. And like, what kind of knives? Like, there's got to be a specific kind of knife. Like, is he lubing them up before he swallows them?
They can't be sharp because it would have killed him. Like this should have killed. But I think the one thing that we've learned from this, 41 is too many. 40 is the limit.
That's right.
40 is where you can stop safely.
Okay, how many have I had now? 40. Yeah, it's starting to kind of feel a little off. Maybe I should go get this checked out.
Can you imagine, like, legit, dude? Can you imagine, like, what that felt like? Oh my god!
I mean, and people had to hear it. I mean, unless he was just alone. I mean, you can't not hear a bunch of knives just bumping up against each other in some dude's stomach.
Oh my god! Yeah, I would love to see like
There is an image, and I don't have it pulled up, but and it has them all laid out on a bed. All the knives are like laid out on a bed. You'll have to look it up.
Okay, yeah, no,
after the show,
100%. Oh, I'm definitely looking this up. Not so much the makeshift farm. I perhaps will look up the chicken thing.
There's several. It's the thing about the chicken up the ass thing is that there's multiple articles. One says Indiana, one says Florida. I don't know, but they both work. I mean, it doesn't matter what state you're in. I mean, you always got those people.
All right, so I will take a little bit of umbrage that it's from the Hoosier State, just simply because I was born there. I'm gonna toss this down to Florida. Now's where like the third frame pops
Oh,
up
come
and
on,
Florida's
come
like,
on. They have the bath salts eating faces in Florida. Okay, we gotta give ourselves a little bit of something here.
we're not the chicken up the ass state, dude. Jeez, is that what we've? It's like
Hey,
we have.
I'm in the city where the dude farted and got caught. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
oh man,
Holy cow! Wow, dude.
yeah, that's good. That's pretty brutal though. I mean, I can't imagine that like any bit of that being pleasant. Like, and even the mindset behind somebody doing that. But you know, you have those shows where people have addictions, and there are some crazy ones. That is one thing that if I can shed any light to people that are watching this or going to listen to this show, is you think of addiction as alcohol or drugs? There's a lot more.
Yes. Well, and you know, the thing is, if we are doing public service announcements, if you find yourself shoving chickens up your ass, swallowing 40 knives, having sex with 9 horses, 1 cow, 1 goat, and an innumerable amount of dogs, seek help.
Yes. If you're having sex with one of those things, you should probably seek help.
All right,
it's not about the abundance here. It's about the fact that people are doing it.
Foisted by my own petard. Okay, fine.
There you go.
Right. If you're having sex with 1 cow, fine. Go see a doctor.
Chicken, meh.
Meh, that could be dinner.
And then give me a call because I'm curious on how you went about doing this.
You never know. Maybe the chicken was a proctologist, you know, like an animal doctor.
Mm-hmm. It did say he was inebriated, so it could have been talking to him.
like, come on, Jim. You know I want to. I'm sure you got some polyps up there that need to be looked at.
Just imagine how much it'll tickle if I just start clucking away inside there.
I want to see if you have eggs.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Oh, of course. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Terrified neighbors call police to domestic dispute, but find man alone screaming at spider.
Okay. So
I've used this article as a skit on Burn After Playing.
Because I saw that. Yes, that was funny. That was funny.
But I had to throw it in here because the comedy behind this and like just visualizing the officer showing up and seeing this, like there's so many ways that you can see this with it being hilarious.
Again, I want to know the facts of the story, but so I'm slightly arachnophobic.
Okay.
So this whole thing is fair. Like my brain is going, that's fair, dude. And have you seen the movie Arachnophobia?
Like a dozen times. I love it.
Okay. So here's a story for you. And this is why I'm sitting here going, this is fair. Okay. So many years ago, when I was like 18, 19, I was down lifting weights I was still living with my parents at the time. And I was down lifting weights in the basement. And our cat comes down there and she's looking at something, you know, and she's doing that thing where like they're hunched down, like they're getting ready to pounce at something, but she wasn't moving at it. And I look over and I see just like this gray blob that was about that big around.
Oh, damn. And
I walk over and I see the spider and it looked just like the arachnophobia spiders, like 100%. It was that spider, and the thing had its legs up like this. So I kept my eyes on it. I reached down, grabbed the cat, and sorry, PETA folks, I was trying to save my cat's life. I just went boom and threw the cat out of the way. There happened to be this is where it's freaky. Okay. So there was a pile of rebar next to where this was going on. And for those that don't know, rebar is what they put in concrete to make it stable. It's long metal bars that are round. I pick up this piece of rebar, heavy rebar, and very slowly, and I just, I'm a big dude, like these arms, wham, I hit the thing 3 times right across its body. Okay, 3 times as hard as I could. It flips over, curls up. I go and get like my dad used to like use, like country dads, they use pill bottles and all kinds of shit to keep screws and stuff in. Well, I had a plastic clear one of those bottles. I scooped the thing up and capped it. Walk upstairs to my parents to be like, "Do you know what kind of spider this is?" I get upstairs, which was less than a minute after this happened. I show it to my mom and I go, "Do you know what kind of?" Before I could even finish it, it flipped over and put its fucking legs on the side of the jar.
No shit.
Dude, hand to God. Now, I didn't drop the bottle, but it just like I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now. I hit it with rebar.
Yeah. So did you figure out what kind of spider it was?
No, because my ass went outside we live, like I said, 4 cornfields.
Yeah.
Well, we did have a slight woods behind our house. I just went out back and went over the hill in the glass. I didn't care. Like,
your neighbor shows up a few days later. Like, have you seen our pet spider Sally? Oh, yeah.
We've had him for years. He was the sweetest boy. He loved cats. He loved to play with them. He just put his little spider feet up and
yeah, actually, I saw him over the hill over there.
He's probably just in that bottle. He's still in that bottle, like 20 years,
Right.
just waiting for me, sharpening his little spider claws,
waiting for you to come back for him.
Yep. Ass is coming back. I'll get him. The cops get there, and I wonder if the guy had he taken care of the spider at that point, or did he just show up at the door like, no, he's still over there, and the cops are like, have a good night.
My fear is dolls. I have a terrible fear of like those realistic looking dolls. And my story is when I was a kid, we used to go to Utah to see my great grandma, and she had a collection of dolls around the house, the whole house. And they're like these 3-foot tall porcelain dolls that look real. And she was 80s or 90s, I don't remember. And she had real bad Alzheimer's. She couldn't remember who you were. Every 5 minutes, she'd be asking you who you were. But when you'd wake up at 2, 3 in the morning, she'd be having arguments with these dolls in the hallways. She would take baths with them and have conversations with them. She knew all of their names.
Dude.
She dressed them, everything. So, imagine being a kid waking up at 3 in the morning to see your grandparent in the hallway having an argument with a doll. It was terrifying, man. And now I don't even want to be in a room with them. Like, it's absolutely terrifying.
Okay, so I'm conflicted here because I've authored 6 books, but one of them is an anthology it's like a mixture of like science fiction, horror, some comedy. And there's a story that I wrote called The Dollhouse, actually, that has been up for a few awards. And I am conflicted because I really want to send it to you, but at the same time, you're terrified of it. And I don't want to like foment that issue. But I think, God, mine was a horror story, but yours, because that's real life, dude. Like,
yeah, my kids got Barbie dolls and stuff. That stuff doesn't bug me. The movies aren't so bad, but like, we'll go to like antique stores and my wife will fuck with me so hard because she knows it.
That's a good wife.
She'll send me pictures, and so like I'll be at work and she'll be out at the store and she'll just send me a picture of one. I'm like, God damn it!
Your wife's cool. So, but you know what though? That's fair though, man, because like if you look at old pictures, I don't know what the fuck was wrong with our forefathers and mothers, but god dang, like if you look at old costumes of like the Easter Bunny and old Mickey costumes, they're horrifying.
Right.
They're horrifying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the dolls were no better. Like everything was like creepy. How could somebody make that stuff back in that time and go, yeah, this is all right. This won't, like sow nightmares into the dreams of children.
Right.
Stuff was terrible. Have you ever seen, it's been on Ghost Adventures and a couple other stories, but and I think it's in South America, that Doll Island.
Yes, it is. It's either, I think it's Central America actually, but yes, same general area.
Yeah. So you've seen it though.
Yes. And they just have them strung up all over the island. Yeah. I couldn't do it. I've seen the episode and One would freak me out, let alone an island full of them.
Okay, here's the poll question.
Okay.
All right, for you and our listeners here today. Would you rather go to Doll Island, chicken up the ass?
It's fair. I might have to throw up a poll because they have like you can make polls now on like Instagram.
Yeah.
I'll have to make this a clip and I'll throw a little bit of both in there.
You're like, how is this even a poll? You
Yes.
gotta watch the episode. This just doesn't make sense. I mean,
it'll be good enough to get people curious to want to watch the episode, man. Let's hope.
yeah. Oh, I can't wait to tell folks about this. What'd you talk about on the podcast today? Well, there were a lot of farm animals. I'll just say that.
And I don't know how many episodes you've listened to, but I try to find something that can become a comical title for the episode. A lot of podcasts do like episode numbers and stuff, and I'm like, no, I just want comical titles.
If you don't introduce this podcast with the Alice in Chains Rooster song, man, I can't help you.
Yeah, man. Can you just imagine if the officer showed up to that chicken in the ass guy and he had Alice in Chains Rooster playing?
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, here comes the rooster.
You just hear this muffled.
Oh man.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So
right.
this is why this is my morning show, because it always like brightens my day up. Starts off so well.
This has provided much entertainment for me. I don't know if it's anything I'll turn into stuff on stage, but because Jesus, how do you translate this? Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can find a way to make this a skit, and I will totally take your skits on stage as a promotion for my show.
Oh no, dude! I would if I were to turn this into something, I'd be like, so I was on this podcast, and it's funny though how things, because you get that a lot as a comic, and your buddies with Pat, and he would tell you the same thing. That it's really tough when people are like, they see something that's funny. It's like, hey, you can talk about that on stage. And what they don't realize is translating something to being funny on stage and making a group of strangers laugh at it spontaneously is really difficult. Like it is incredibly hard to do, because there's a massive difference between stage funny and then people just talking out in the real world funny, because out in the real world you have context and everything else that you can apply to it, and the fact that these people and like what makes them laugh. But that's one of the things that's brilliant about this, is that we have no context. You just bring this stuff to the table, and we have to, is like I said in the beginning, we just have to deal with it.
It's an improv. It's basically improv, right? I mean, it's on the spot.
Yeah.
And I take joy in making people laugh, whether you're a podcaster or a comedian. But if I can make a comedian laugh, then I know I'm doing something right.
Oh, you are, my man. You are.
And I even dabble, especially lately. I've been dabbling with, because I've had Bob Levy from the Howard Stern Show on, and I've been dabbling into a lot of that crew, like, because I've made friends with some of these people because I've met them through him, or just somebody that he's affiliated through, because he does tons of podcasts. So I've had a comedian, Mike Morse, on. I don't know if you were familiar with Joe Fernandez.
Name's familiar.
I just had him on recently. So, I mean, and I'll always have anybody on, but having comedians on that do a lot of stand-up and stuff, and they just on a whim react to things, it's a lot of fun. It makes this show what it is, and I just want to keep doing it, man.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something too. Like, some comics are good laughers, but the really real, like, if we want to pull away the curtain again and talk about some like behind the scenes shit with comics, if you can make a comic that has been doing stand up for a long time, like, genuinely spontaneously laugh, you're doing some stuff right, because either we've tried to think of it in a funny way. We've seen somebody perform it, or we've performed something similar to the subject that you're talking about. So to make some jaded ass, grizzled, comedy veteran, laugh, like, man, you're definitely on the right track. So
I do want to do one more. Okay.
yeah, let's hit it.
I had like 9 of them. I don't want to do all 9 because we'd be going at this for like 2 hours. So we'll get one more to just kind of cherry on the top here. Okay.
Oh boy. All right. Let's see what you got.
Ghost of rude masturbating monkey shocks visitors to stately home in Dorset.
I haven't had breakfast yet. You realize this? Like this, in all good intention, I woke up this morning, just like I'm going to be on Jukebox Podcast. We're gonna have fun. Now all day long, chicken in the ass.
Yep.
Jerking off ghost monkey. But can we look at the wording of that real quick, because that is really messing up my brain.
Yes. Here, let me throw it back up here. And I also have a little bit more information on it, but.
Ghost of nude masturbation. Okay. Well, first of all, nude is
rude.
Yeah. Oh, rude. Okay, so that's all right. Rude that's a whole different level. Shocks visitors to stately home in Dorset. So, like, is it saying that the rude, like, ghost monkey was like, "Rah," and it made people go into the home?
I mean, I don't even know if this is like a haunted house attraction, and they're like, "Hey, you guys want to go see this masturbating monkey? Hey, here's pretty rude." I don't know.
Oh no, I see. Sorry, dude. I see what there's the shocks visitors visitors that are coming to the stately home.
Yes, and I can show you. I mean, let me get this other information up here real quick, because it actually does do a little bit more detail. It says tourists claim they can often hear the monkey named Martin cackling and masturbating in the building, which was built in the 15th century. He loves to swing, scratch his balls, and be ghostly.
Shut up. This has got to be like touristy. I mean, who? All right, let's go like 100% honest here. If you had something like this close to your home, and you're sitting around with your buddies one night, and you're like, "Hey, you want to go to the place where that masturbating monkey is? That's rude. The ghost." Oh, fuck yeah! I mean, like, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
It just seems like a
publicity thing, yeah.
Because God, dude, I have so many questions. Like, it was built in the 15th century, so back in the 15th century, did somebody like own this monkey?
It is UK, so I don't know.
You know what? That's a very smart point, because of the colonialism and the way they were spreading the empire. I can see somebody coming back with a monkey, from the near the equator, and be like, "Hey, look, I brought this this beautiful animal home from far away," and it's just running around the house like, "Yeah,
just getting off on everything." I had to bring him home, man. It was the funniest thing. He was just over there jerking off while we were over here, doing our pillaging.
Some Cockney mate is like, "Oh, me curtains." He's going and just on the silverware again. Stop it, bad monkey.
Oh man, and if just think of like all the paranormal situations where people buy homes too, like people just buying this house and they're like, "Well, I don't know if this is necessarily something that I need to report, but."
Oh, you mean like a disclosure agreements with the realtors? Like,
by the way,
why is this mansion only $99,000? Well,
have you heard of Martin?
Yeah, that was a great TV show. No. They pinch the bridge of their nose, like,
yeah.
Oh.
There's a pet that we're not going to be bringing with us.
And then the husband just was like, "Is there a leak in the roof? I thought I felt a drop. What? Does it smell like bananas? That's so strange."
And like, of all things, paranormal, especially if you're a paranormal enthusiast, a masturbating monkey.
Oh, dude, I'd be there. Dude, I've gone on ghost hunts. I've been on ghost hunts with Pat. Like, I would totally do this.
Yes.
But here's my question. Rude.
Yes, the rude part. Like, is he throwing it at you? Is he throwing things at you? I mean, what is he humping your leg?
But that's the thing.
Yeah, that's again. This is why I don't go too into details with these stories because it just makes it that much more interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the like leaving it up to like guess. I mean, of course, obviously, it takes the mind in a million different directions. But it boggles my mind what they consider rude outside of it just masturbating in front of you and
Yeah, I mean
cackling.
that could be the only thing is just this apparition just spawning out of nowhere of a giggling monkey jerking itself off in the corner or something. I mean, I guess that could come off rude.
You know what? Now that you say, because I mean, if you think about British humor and British sensibilities,
Yeah.
I could see some, foppish British aristocratic, lady, the monkey's in the corner, doing its thing, and she's like, "How rude! Keep your masturbatory practices to the bedroom as we do."
Martin, go on, we have guests.
Ha! He's yelling at it by name. Stop it, Martin. You know that is after 9. Dinner guests are at 8. Oh, so rude. I know, the Johnsons up the street have a masturbating monkey who keeps his stuff to himself.
Oh man, and I'm a firm believer in paranormal stuff, and energies. And it's funny that it's an animal because it's rare that you hear the animal ones.
It is incredibly rare, and the fact that it's okay. So the specificity in this is so strange, and that's what's really thrown me because you hear about wendigos, ghost dogs, ghost cats, things of that nature, and if you start getting more exotic, you just don't hear about that. So the fact that it's a monkey, but I will tell you, when I say Pat and I, Patrick Gone, for those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, very funny comic from the St. Louis area. Mm-hmm. He and I went on a ghost hunt in this really like messed up house, and that can be for another time, dude, if you want. But it was bad, like it was bad. And we got a Class A EVP, like not even 10 minutes into the investigation. I've still got it on a recorder.
Oh, nice.
But we're walking down the stairs. It was me, Patrick, and this one investigator named Eric. And we're walking down the stairs. Pat's at the bottom of the stairs. Eric's at the top. I'm at the middle of the stairs. And very clearly, and we have it broken down on audio and everything. It's a separate line, like we proved it out. Pat says something, Eric says something, and then this voice says, "Check me out." Just like that. Like clear as a bell, dude. That's and good. Oh man, it was freaky. And there's so many things that happen in that house with like shadow figures. People got scratched, people got grabbed. They had their insides twisted so bad they had to run out of the house and vomit on the front lawn. Like it was nuts, man.
Have you heard of Dave Schrader? Is his name? Mm-mm. He's the host of the Holzer Files.
I know the Holzer. Okay, yeah.
He's like the main guy. He's a bald guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I've been in touch with him, and I've been trying to get him on to do a show. So if I make that happen, and you'd like to be a part of it,
dude, 100%. I would love to be part of that and like comparing, just to listen to the guy. That show's fascinating.
Yeah. No, and he's got his own the Paranormal 60 podcast. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a shout out. He does a lot of paranormal stuff. He's been on other shows, and so I've been wanting to get him on because I do something called Clash of the Casters, where I do like a panel show and I get like a special guest and we talk about more serious topics. Because stardom's always fun, but I also love some of these deeper topics, because we can still have a good time, but talk about something serious. So I try to do one of those every few months. And I would love to, if you want to be a part of it, man, I'll definitely keep you in touch on that one.
Yeah, dude, please, man. Absolutely. I've been on some, I'll do anybody's podcast, because it's just fun sitting and rapping with people. But like when you have something that's fun and somebody that knows how to interview and do a podcast, and then like when you're talking, please don't take this as me sitting here, blowing sunshine up your ass. Like you legitimately add value to the conversation instead of just being like, "Hey, waka waka waka." So no, dude, absolutely, and especially talking about stuff like that, man, because
Yeah.
we had so many experiences. Like our very first ghost hunt was the South Bend Civic Theater old administration building, and oh God, sorry, I was just having a reflex from a memory of when we first went in there. Because what we would do is we would go into these places and we would do what we called the initial walkthrough before we brought out our medium, Tina, who is brilliant. Tina is brilliant. I love this lady. And she is just like a larger version of the little lady from Poltergeist. This house is clean, lady. Like, all right.
Right.
But I remember when we first went there, I went up to the attic and I was on the third floor and I opened up the door to the attic and it was complete. And this was what was weird. There were windows in the attic. It is broad daylight, but when I opened up the door, it was pitch black. I'm talking like pitch black, no light. No light from behind me was affecting the light on the stairs. It was like a black void. And when I opened up the door, this, like, I heard it in my head, just this thing like, get out. And I just went, all right. And I shut the door. Right. But who was the first dummy when we went there to go up to the attic? I went up there with our photog, and I'm almost positive it was either Pat or one of our buddies, Mike, who did these with us. But we had this thing on the ground that recorded like like a seismograph. Is that what they call it?
Yes.
Okay, a seismograph. It was a seismograph, and it could decibel meter, and it could detect temperature drops. And we're sitting there in the attic, and we had CCTV on the three of us up there, and we're sitting in the chair. There's nothing in the attic, not a thing. Okay, nothing. Just the chairs, the three of us, and that the equipment and the CCTV thing hanging on the rafter. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden it got cold, and I looked down at the thing, and the temperature is just going down, like down. It was like, it went from like 79 or whatever it was, and it dropped down to 56 degrees just quickly. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking around like, can you guys feel this? And like our base, like master control people, like, hey, what's going on up there? And then all of a sudden it was like somebody dropped a cinder block behind us from chest height. Like the floor shook. And the thing, you saw it bounce and go, ba-bunk,
yeah,
all over.
Damn.
And so much stuff happened in that house. My buddy Mike, who was with us, Mike is like, if you took three of me and smushed us together and added about a foot in height, big dude. Mike was a massive guy. All right, his forearms were as big around as my legs.
Right.
We went down into the basement, and there was this old thin plank door that led to a tunnel that went over to the theater, the Civic Theater. He goes and grabs the door. It's not locked, and he tries to pull on it and gets it open a little bit, and it shuts on him. Could not get it to open. Mike is sitting and pulling on this thing. Mike probably weighed 350 pounds. He's just, all of his weight and strength could not get the thing open.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And
we go upstairs, we come back down later, and we were the only ones that had been in the basement at the time. And I go to like open it, and it just pops open. Mm-hmm. Just like nothing.
That's crazy.
Man, so many stories like that. I could do this for hours.
I gotta share one of mine now.
Please.
Before we wrap this up. So I grew up real strict Pentecostal. So a lot of the belief I remember was that the animals didn't have spirits or souls. Like, they don't go to heaven. And I was probably 12 or 13, and I had a dog named Reno. He was a purebred Shar-Pei, my best friend. Right. Mm-hmm. He's about 4 years old. I had him since he was a puppy. Mm-hmm. Now, my room was in the basement. My stepdad was a very abusive asshole. Yeah, and my best friend was, and I should probably tell some people this is a little explicit. So if you're, if you can't handle gore, I mean, if you can't handle the sex with the animals, you might want to step away. But
okay, I don't want to laugh.
No, it's fine. I keep the comedy in here, okay? But so my room is in the basement, and I had this ground window in my room. So, you look out the window, there's grass. It was right there level with the window, and it was painted shut. This is an older house. It had never been opened. But this plays into the story. And at night, my Reno would sleep on the bed with me. Like, he'd be between my legs usually. And whenever I was at school, I would leave him in the barn behind the house. I'd get home from school, let him out. I'd let him out, feed him, all that. And one day I came home and I went to go get him out of the barn, and he was like growling at me, like playing kind of a growl, like he wanted to, play or something. Anyway, so he wouldn't come out. So I would go in there to get him, and he's like growling and barking at me. I'm like, what the fuck, So I and my stepdad always taught me he is, he's meant to be like a specific type of dog, so you have to show him dominance so that he knows you're the boss. And in my 12-year-old mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hit him with a wiffle ball bat, which clearly was not the right thing to do, right? On my end. And I totally agree with this, that I was in the wrong. And so I hit him in the head. That's besides the point. And he bites me, and he sinks his teeth into my hand. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, I mean, that was stupid on my end. Well, my mom comes home. My stepdad comes home. He's all pissed off because he bit me. He's pissed off at me for hitting him. And I remember him and my mom talking about what they should do with him. Well, instead of just, hey, are you okay, and getting on with it, my stepdad decided to take him out into a field and shoot him with a shotgun in the head.
No.
Brings him back home and makes me take him out into the woods behind the house and bury him. And this is my best friend, right? I mean, best friend. The closest thing I had, because I was always home alone. I didn't really have a lot of friends. So I took him out to the spot by the creek where there's a tree I always used to sleep underneath when I was out there playing in the woods. And so I buried him underneath there. And it was about a week later. And I wake up. It's the middle of the night, just kind of chilly. And the very first thing I notice is that window is open. And I'm looking around, and there's enough moonlight that I can kind of see the layout of everything in the room.
Yep.
And I'm looking around, and I feel something move between my legs. And I look down, and there's this black blob. And I'm thinking, okay, either I'm still sleeping, or maybe there was some laundry I didn't fold or something. And it keeps moving, and there's this growl, and then I wake up. I'm like, oh God, what a nightmare. The window's still open. There's dirt and mud all over my room. And again, my stepdad was very abusive. So like, I'm thinking like two things. What the fuck? And I better clean this mess up before I get beat. Yeah. So I'm pulling my blankets and my sheets off. And then I run out. I mean, it's still early. The sun was coming up, but it was early enough. I run out to where I'd buried my dog. And it looked like something, either he dug himself out or something dug him out. And there was nothing in the hole.
Dude, I got chills, man. Holy shit.
I have no explanation. And it still gets me to this day, man.
Look, dude, okay. There's so much that we do not understand. We think we have everything figured out, and we do not. Our history's been hidden from us. Our abilities have been hidden. The truth about the universe has been hidden from us, or changed, or glossed, or whatever. Like, I totally plausible, because some of the shit that I've seen, nothing like that hardcore where it's almost like a reanimation situation. But like, I don't doubt that in the least. And you could be shining me on, but I don't feel like it.
No, and the house is about 20 minutes from where I live. Like, I could take anybody there and show them the woods behind the house where I buried him. But I mean, there's other things into play. Like, did an animal dig him out and eat him? Yeah, I mean, there could be other things behind it. But was I dreaming? Was I not? The fact that window was open, like, there was too many things that played into it. That was like, I was just dreaming, And that's what still gets me to this day. And I didn't even tell my parents for probably 2 or 3 months. I remember telling my sister like a week later, but even to her, I waited to tell because I was still trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
So
that's well, and the thing is too, like, if you try to go that route of, well, let's explain this sensibly. It's like, okay, so I don't believe in coincidence too, but I'm also a numbers guy, right? And I think about statistical probability when I'm trying to break things down. So what you would have to have in a level of statistical probability for all these things to happen in concert to make this experience go down, right? Something would have had to dug up your pet in that exact spot, and either the same thing break into your room, track mud and everything else, and then sit in between your legs, not attack you, and then disappear at the same time, right? Or
Right.
something would have had to dug up your thing, your beloved pet,
Mhm.
and another animal would have walked in to that window, mud, be between your legs, and then disappear. Like any one thing, if you take it, you might go, okay, but when you stack everything together
Mhm.
for the statistics behind it for it to happen, just a numbers thing, it's like it's got to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that's why, I mean, even to this day, it's like, it still gets me, like, I'm over here kinda like, because it does, I mean, it's and that's when I started to kinda steer away from the religious aspects of my life, because it's like, okay, that's clearly that's not 100% accurate, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah, man, that's my very first experience.
that's crazy. That's crazy, man. That's
Mhm,
crazy. And I don't know how anybody could look at a sweet little animal and try to tell me that it doesn't have a soul, man. I've got hedgehogs that have bonded with me and my family and are loving little
mhm.
creatures. You know what I mean?
We had one for a very short time,
Yeah.
and we named him Quill Bill.
Yeah, you told me that. That's right. Kill Bill. And I laughed my ass off because it's a
Yeah,
great name.
uh,
Yeah. So, you know what? It's like, yeah, I can see that steering you away from it. But man, what a nutty experience. And I will tell you, my buddy Mike was in, we call it the Demon House, is the one where the people got grabbed and the throwing up and the Class A EVP. Mike was a hardcore skeptic, even after that stuff in the Civic Theater building.
right.
Like he still was just like, I don't really believe this until when we were in the Demon House. We were downstairs in the basement. Your story made me think of it because it had those type of windows you're talking about, right?
Yep.
And I was standing there with Mike. We had the lights out, so it was moonlight coming through. So again, like you could vaguely see the outline of everything. And we all of a sudden it got real cold in the basement. And Mike goes, "Dude, do you see that?" And the first thing he said, "Do you see that?" I didn't, but he said there was a green orb floating in the floor joists. And like he watched it. I watched him watch it. And I'm like, dude, I don't see anything. I believe you, but I don't see it.
Right.
And then as it panned over this way to basically what would be stage right or stage left, this figure, and I'm talking monstrous, had to have been like, what was the floor? The floor of the base was like 10 feet. This thing was as tall as the floor joist.
Oh, wow.
Shadow figure moves across in front of us and it blots out that window as it's moving across. And Mike and I both looked at each other and he goes, "I saw that." And I go, "I did too." And from that point on, just like with your experience where it's like my mind has changed, Mike was never the same after that.
Mhm. And I feel like it's kinda one of those, you have to see it to believe it, but in reality, think of all these, like, religious people that just have faith in a God that exists that they
Mhm.
don't know besides a book, so it's very hypocritical to have that mindset but not believe that ghosts exist.
It is incredibly hypocritical. No, you're 100% right. And the thing is, if if you are religious and believe in the soul, then it's not that much of a leap to understand that we are just souls. We're just energy driving around, flesh and bone mech suits,
Mhm.
like we're Megatron or Ultron or whatever, like we have these outside casings and we just own these bodies for a time. And then
Mhm.
since energy and matter you can't get rid of it. You can be dispersed, but it can't go away.
Right.
It's like, then if you believe in the soul, then you know that there's consciousness. So what happens after?
And
Like,
I tell people I don't believe that hell exists because in order to process pain and misery, you have to have a brain, like some sort of a brain or something to process that feeling or emotion. So for your energy to go to hell and be in pain, it just doesn't make sense unless you're in a physical form or something to process that emotion.
here's something that'll blow your mind. There's a theory that we're in hell right now.
Yeah, which
Like
makes
we're,
sense. I can see that.
but it's not the way we conceptualize it. It's
Yeah.
like we're going through, and you talk about this stuff with your stepdad and things, and
Mm.
it's just like, how could hell be any worse than some of the pain and things and horrors that we see on this planet?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So are we just here for a time to experience these things, and then once it's done, we go back and it's like, wow, okay, like I learned some stuff, and this is why we're here for the time being. I don't know, man. This
Here's sort of how I believe in reincarnation, and here's my thoughts behind it. Okay, if there's a higher power, right? If there's somewhere we go after, or somewhere we're supposed to go, I feel like as an energy, us being created, we are meant to learn lessons. We're meant to experience pain, love, death, all these aspects, but our physical forms don't last long enough for us to experience all of the lessons. So as we die, if we haven't learned all the lessons, we come back in another form until we've learned everything, until we can ascend to wherever it is. So, you experience the death of a loved one or a child. These are tragic things, but these are things that you have to process as an energy and learn to get to that next level of existence.
Okay, so it's not that I'm respectfully disagreeing with you.
No, that's fine. Please bring it on.
No. It is, please God, no. Like, I will happily be heaven stupid. Like, no, you didn't learn this yet, Sean. I'm good. You don't get the extra room on your mansion. That's fine. I don't need a gift wrapping room. I'm cool. They can have the big McMansion. Put me in a shack. I just
but it would play so much into other things too, like growing up thinking this is not, or getting to a point where you're like, this is not my body. I feel like I should be a female or something. As an energy, you're not a sex, and you just know, you just have knowledge. As an energy, you just exist. So if you are reincarnated and maybe you were a female in the life prior and that happened to transfer over and you were a male, like there's, that would make sense too.
Well, and I mean, I'm sure, because anybody I've ever talked to about this subject, and I've never heard anybody say anything to the contrary. Have you been somewhere old, or a location that you've never been to before in your life, and like, I've been here before. I feel this, like I feel a connection to this, and it's weird because I've never been here or lived here or anything, but it's familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, okay, so my wife is in love with Tennessee, and a big shout out to the volunteer state. I think it's beautiful down there. Always had good shows down there, good crowds. Really, I'm a fan. Mm-hmm. And we were outside of Pigeon Forge in the mountains.
Okay, yeah, Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, and she rented us a cabin for a week. Mm-hmm. And when I say it was in the mountains, I mean, I'm talking ass clenching, my car seat, no guardrail, 500-foot drop down the side, going to the cabin, like driving 45-degree angles up the driveway, cabin. And it was so strange because she felt like the place was very familiar to her. And I was like, this does have some notes of familiarity to me. It's very strange. Uh-huh. And the second night we were in the cabin, okay, so we heard on the outside of the cabin a big, like, it was like something took a sledgehammer and slammed it into the wall. There was nobody around us. It could have been a vulture slamming into the side, I guess, but that's the only thing it could have been, right? At that decibel. The third night, she woke up before I did and then went back to sleep, and I woke up after she did. She woke up and there was a mist covering the room, and she saw a lady in like pioneer dress, everything, but just in white, walk from the bathroom into the main room. And she did the thing you did where she was like, this has got to be a dream. This is nuts. And she just went back to sleep. I woke up because I had to pee later. And when I woke up, that same glowing mist was just like all over clouded all over the floor.
Uh-huh.
Doors weren't open. Windows weren't open. This wasn't a weather phenomenon. Like I saw it. I was awake. And I even went through the process of going, hold on a second. No, I'm awake. What the fuck? Like I was looking around and I'm just like, and I did what I tend to do on any of these ghost things. Like I get a little bit confrontational with it, or I just turn it into and go, what the fuck ever, dude? Like, because I don't want to give whatever these things are that power. And many times on ghost hunts, stuff will be happening and I'll just be like, dude, shut up.
Right.
Because that's the tack I take with it, because I don't give them that fear energy.
Well, yeah, you're not supposed to. You don't want to feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw the mist and everything. I went, okay, this is happening. I'm definitely awake. I even did the pinching myself. Like I went through the whole process and just went, all right. And I didn't even to go pee. I just laid back down, went to sleep. The thing was, the next morning, my wife told me, she was like, I don't know if this was a dream, but this. And I said, well, I can confirm, because this, just without the lady walking through the room. Mm-hmm. So we both had the same experience that same night at different times, just with one less ghosty thing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's another thing. When it's more than one person, it gives more credibility to it. I mean, it really does.
Here's my big question though, man. I think this is something
we'll wrap it up with this. We'll wrap it up with this question.
How the fuck did we get from chicken in the ass to existential, the meaning of life and ghost? Like, that is a hell of a journey, dude.
Welcome to the Stardom Podcast, people. It actually all stimulated from the masturbating monkey. I'm just saying.
That's fair.
But still, man, that's why I do these like panel shows, because I love topics like this. Yeah, and it's and this show went an hour and a half, man. Usually I'll cut it off at an hour. We're at an hour and 40.
Oh, holy cow!
Yeah, man.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and it's again, I enjoy doing this. I get better as I go, and I think the biggest thing that I've learned doing these shows is keeping the dead air out, which, you got your random. That's why I have the random topics. Like if I don't get a reaction from somebody, I'm like, all right, you ready for the next one? Like if I don't have a reaction or a response to what you have, I'm just, let's go to the next one, guys. Yep. So it keeps it going, but I think I've gotten this down. Yeah.
Oh, good, please. No, you're 100% good. Like, look, I've done this shit for years. I've done tons of radio and stuff. And like, I wouldn't try. I'd even tell you off air, like, hey, maybe try this, or, this might be an opportunity. Like there's no fat on this. Like, and it's not even where there's dead air. It's just a moment of, like, this topic seems exhausted. Let's move on, right. And there were points during the cast today where it was just like, yes, we're both confused. This is really fucking weird. Next.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I had 10 of them, and I think we probably did 5. But that's fine, because it's the conversation. As long as the conversation's good and we're both having fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah, and you just can't top Martin. So
yes, for everybody that is just now tuning in, Martin is a masturbating ghost monkey.
Rude
masturbating ghost monkey.
Ghost monkey. Let's not forget, because obviously the Joneses have the polite masturbating monkey. Ghost monkey.
So Sean, man, you got anything coming up? Any more shows or tours?
Oh, bro, holy cow! Actually, what's today? Wednesday. This Friday, I'll be at the Well in Mishawaka doing an improv show. smattering of shows throughout the month. June 15th, I'll be at the Rees Theater in Plymouth, Indiana, headlining a show there for Yellowstone Trail Fest. It's a charity gig. The last week of June, I'll be on the East Coast doing a stretch of gigs for AC Jokes out there at some casinos and different things with a buddy of mine, Mike Merck, which I need to get you hooked up with him. That dude is amazingly funny. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, just shows kind of scattered throughout. And then September 7th, brand new club is opening up in Niles, Michigan that I'm going to be the general manager for. Underground Laugh Lounge, man. It's
now, how far is that from where you live, especially if you're going to be the GM of it?
From my location, it's only going to be about 17 minutes.
Oh, are you in Michigan? For some reason, I keep thinking you're in Indiana.
I am on the, like, if here's the border, here I am. I'm just like, I'm skirting both sides.
Well, that's kind of where, like here in Kansas City, I'm on the Kansas side, but I could get to Missouri in 15 minutes.
There you go. And that's exactly, I'm close enough to get the good gummies up in Michigan.
Yeah. Right on, man. Is there a website or anything that I can link in, or just your Facebook page, or?
You know what? Just if you go to Shankwrite, www.shankwrite.com, or you can find stuff out about me and the shows at undergroundlaughlounge.com.
Okay.
You know, both are good.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely do that, man. Especially, you know, I love giving exposure to the guests that I have on. So that's why I do my reels, my clips, all that stuff, so I can give exposure to people and give you content. And to everybody that's listened today or will be listening or watching, until next time, we'll see you around.